boys. Here we go, boys. Good ride. Good ride.
Nick Ocello gets shoved out of bounds by Colin Heacock. So another turnover created by this Bayhawk ride. Vaccaro, two-pointer, shoots and scores. Jake Vaccaro, behind the two-point arc, rears back, fires, finds the twine.
Good job. 3 guys on the field.
Well, Coach, another season in the books, and I know it didn't necessarily end the way that you and this team wanted, but with some time, and again, it's pretty fresh, the final game against Denver still in your mind, what do you think will be your big takeaways from this group and where you are going forward?
Well, I think we have to evaluate the season from the middle of the season on when we started playing the younger players and find out how we can support our coaches by getting them some players that can really help them. I think that, the young rookies, 7 of them, I think played significant minutes. Year 2 is a very difficult year in a player in the MLL's career because they're used to coming in great shape because they played college lacrosse the whole year 1. They're in phenomenal shape, stick work, and now they go to when they're not practicing. So that'll be a challenge, is try to figure out what guy in year 2 will have that step back year and what guys will continue to plow forward. But, my take on it is basically that we were highly competitive. We were a happy team. We've got kicked in the face a couple times, and the next week at practice, they just kept practicing. I think it's a credit to the coaches, and I think it's a credit to the kids.
So along those lines, because that year 2 thing is a fascinating topic in this league, with what you've gotten to know from this group, how confident are you that this is a group of rookies that will find a way, whether it's based off of playing indoor lacrosse, their coaching commitments, that will, because it is something, it appears to be pretty special, especially offensively, that you can have that pick up in week 1 or week 4 when guys finish playing indoor?
Well, I think there's some questions that, from an administrative perspective, that we in the league and our organization, we really got to wrap our arms around. When is the college draft? The college draft was actually this year was after 5 or 6 games were gone by. So it's hard to say that you're going to trade players for picks and know that they're going to miss almost 1/2 of the season. So that was something that we didn't know the year before when we got rid of some older players and got some picks because we really liked the draft. The draft had been in January. The good news is the draft allowed us to evaluate these guys' entire senior year, and I think that's probably why you saw this year's draft class be so successful, because we had a whole year to watch them. When is the draft going to be this year? That's one thing. 2 is some free agency, player movement, whatever they call it. We picked up Will Kashansky last year. We lost Joe Walters. How does that play into effect? Is that still going to be happening? So there is a bunch of different things. And when does the season start? And that's something that I think everybody wants to try to find a way to fix, but we haven't been able to do that yet. And if we can fix those things, then we have a chance to be an outstanding team.
And I think it probably all hinges, at least step 1 is a new commissioner in the MLL. So does that put you in a position where patience is probably the more prudent approach in terms of going into immediately this offseason looking to make decisions, because you don't know how those decisions will affect you, because as you just pointed out, you don't necessarily know some of the primary rules and structures that is the 2018 season.
Well, player movement, people were trading their picks left and right, and then player movement came about, and everybody thought there was going to be this influx of guys moving last year. And I think there was only 4 or 5 that moved. But you have to have picks in order to be in the player movement. So this year, right now, we did make 1 trade midseason. So we have a first, a second, and 2/3. So it puts us in position to be, to have 4 players in the top 27, 28 again. So that's a real positive. So it's just, like you say, we're not going to make any rash move unless the best deals are the ones that are going to make your team better. If you got a deal that's going to make your team better, it doesn't matter when you make it. If you got a deal that you're not sure because of the circumstances whether it'll make you better, then you're probably better off holding off.
2 players in personnel moves, and whether it be the draft or the trade for Lyle, that I want to get now your thoughts on, because Lyle is for good reason such a polarizing figure, a fantastic player, a lovely guy to talk to.
Yeah.
How do you feel that went in its small sample size, and what's your confidence level with Lyle being, again, a part of this organization going forward? I know you told us that he did sign a multi-year contract.
Yeah, when the game was over, he came running off the field, and I was by the tunnel. And first, he thanked us for bringing him in. Second, he wants to remain a Bayhawk and wants to play. And we're going to try to do some things to try to get him more involved earlier, if possible. But he's not. I don't know if he's a polarizing figure.
No, that gives a negative connotation. But the only negative side to Lyle is something that's out of his hands. For field lacrosse fans, MLL lacrosse fans, we constantly say we wish we could see him week one. And we know we're not going to. And this year it was pushed back even more. But it's because he was doing a great job indoor.
Right.
And we're all happy for that. But that, I think, makes it polarizing for the fan of the Bayhawks and for the fan of the MLL, because they want him as soon as they can get him.
Yeah, I would say that when this was over, I was more impressed with him as an individual and a person. We got to know him. He bonded with his teammates tremendously. He loved his coaches. I just think it was a special having him this first year. And now he trusts us a little bit,
which is huge.
So I think there's some things we can do to try to encourage him to try to be here earlier, and that's what we're going to work on in the off season.
And the next part, in the next sort of breakout star, not that Lyle needed to break out, would be Josh Byrne. And the fact that he sets the goal record, that's a great individual record, but he seemed, much like Lyle, to immediately become somebody that fans and everybody around this team and in this community, that's a guy I want to watch every week. As you left him after that Denver game, what do you get as a sense about his excitement to continue to build something here?
Well, there's another kid he's going to be a lacrosse guy. So it's going to be important for him to train, and he's training up a storm. I texted with his college coach last night, Seth Tierney, and thanked him, because Seth was one of the guys that say he's really special. You guys should really come see him. But the thing that I'll take away from last night was, besides the effort of the guys, how hard they played, was when Josh Byrne was doing his interview and Colin Heacock and those guys dumped the water on him. There's a guy who's only been here for 8 games, and he had developed such a relationship with his teammates that they felt comfortable enough to, and they were happy enough to support him.
That ball back and create more offense.
Got him.
No, that's messed up. Who was that? Who was that? Was it you?
And I think that was what was special in this locker room. When you went into that locker room with the coaches and the players, that was a happy team all year. They didn't have the results that they wanted some of the games, but that was a happy team that was together, and I think we can really build on that.
Do you feel like there are a lot of needs, or do you feel like it's more of trying to sprinkle in some things that could just take this group again, another step forward?
We have enough picks that we're able to, I think, to restock and continue to develop and grow, and then that's where the player movement thing down the road, if understanding who we can get in the college draft, or vice versa, taking the player movement. If there's a guy we pick up, like a Will Kashansky, who's a 5th round pick, who played in almost every game, we can find one of them, then we may not have to draft them, so it may change what we do.
I ask you this because people appreciate your opinion on things. A big picture approach, how confident are you, because you laid out some of the things that need to be figured out, that when we're sitting hopefully together in April or even before the season, that this league will be in a good place when it comes to some of these important decisions that need to be made for the future and the health of the league as a whole?
Well, I trust the people that right now are running the committee to try to find a new commissioner, and I trust the people that own the team that are making quite an investment, that they want what's best for the league. And if they want what's best for the league, then we'll wind up getting it done. And I don't think there's any question about that.
And lastly, I always have to ask, because you always keep us guessing at times, you're still ready for another year and to be a part of helping build a champion here in Chesapeake going forward?
I really like where we are. I like the people in our locker room. I like the people that work for the Bayhawks. I like our coaching staff. It was enjoyable to watch and painful to live through this season. But think about a coaching staff that had to go through, as you said, there were 10 of the 14 games were 2 goals or less. Yeah. And that's excruciating. And but to keep battling the way they did, and we talked the other night. Brian talked to the team. I said a little things to the team, but games that mean nothing mean everything. And it shows the way you've been brought up. It shows what you think about your teammates. It shows what you think about your coaches. And that's my take of that last game. They cared so much about each other, their coaches, and playing for the Chesapeake Bayhawks that even when they got down 16-11 late in the third quarter, they never gave in. And that's something that I think every Bayhawk fan should be proud of.
We always appreciate the time, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks for the season.
And this is, I think, what Dave Cottle and Brian Reese and Brendan Kelly kind of thought that they were getting when they put this team together. Is this what they were going to get, these 23 goals here?
Want to change the game with the erratic effort, boys. All right, hey, wasn't a perfect game, but you guys stuck together and kept fighting to the end. Good job, boys. 1, 2, 3, family.